Awesome. So, well, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Leadership Development Council meeting. Like I said, I'm Megan. Alice will be joining us shortly, but I will start with a few quick reminders. If you're new, we would love to hold space for you to introduce yourself to the group, but otherwise, please put your name and title in the chat, and so everybody can get familiar with who you are and where you're from. I'll jump into some NCHL business as well, but are there any new folks joining us for the first time? Andrea, do you mind introducing yourself?
No, I don't. I'm happy to. Thank you. I was bummed to have missed the last council meeting I was invited to, but I'm Andrea Scheidler, and I am with Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and I serve in the area of leadership development and talent management. Excited to be here. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrea. Welcome. Anybody else new to the group that would like to introduce themselves?
Hey, it's Tyler Haynes. I'm also from Cincinnati Children's and new as well.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks. Well, Tyler and Andrea will definitely get you added to the agendas for these meetings moving forward as well. Just if you plan to be a frequent flyer, we'd love to welcome you. All right, so I'll jump into some NCHL business. If somebody happens to want to also introduce themselves, the floor is always open. So just a reminder, our ICF coach certification program starts in May. We are closing registration at the end of this month. We have maybe 4 slots remaining if you are interested in joining that coach certification level 1 program. You'll have a lot of colleagues from the LENS program, along with our NCAF program, and a few private providers as well who are interested in joining that cohort. Additionally, there's a link on your agenda that if you are new to the LENS environment, there's a quick program review, but also a demo to our member portal. So as a reminder, our member portal holds all of the notes, recordings, slides from any of the previous council calls that happen during the calendar year. If you're looking for archive materials from a presentation or recording that happened in maybe a different calendar year, feel free to reach out to Jen, Malia, or I, and we can help kind of track that down if possible. I am also super excited to welcome 2 speakers or 2 organizations that are going to be presenting to us today on peer learning circles and mentorship. So Samantha Stone, is it Reshus, Samantha?
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And also Lee Paquette. Is that how you say your last name? Woohoo!
Nailed it. Good job.
Woo! Yes, perfect. Okay, so I am so grateful that you guys are both joining us. I love when we have back-to-back presentations because it just promotes so many questions and kind of different perspectives. So I think we're going to start with Samantha and then go to Lee. Is that your guys' understanding as well? Or was there no understanding? Is that cool?
Sounds fabulous.
Perfect. Any other items before we jump into these presentations that people really want to make sure we hold space for after the presentations to discuss? Okay, well, I'm really excited. So we're going to hand the screen share opportunities over to Samantha. Malia, if you can help me do that. And then Samantha, you can take it from here.
I think I have the access. Let me
Perfect.
see here.
Yep, we see it.
Perfect. Okay, let me just hide. Okay, awesome. So hi, everybody. I am Samantha Stone Reshus. I am one of the program directors over at Northwell Health's Center for Learning and Innovation. And I oversee primarily emerging and frontline leader development. So really focusing on how we can best equip people who are kind of seeking leadership roles or are in kind of that first time or frontline leadership role. And need that additional support. So one of the things that I had mentioned kind of in one of our previous meetings was that we this year have started to expand on something that we introduced for the first time last year, which was peer learning circles. And it was a way for us to really just encourage peer networking and continued support across our organization. So this is a really brief, like general overview of kind of the structure of our program. It's an open enrollment. Sorry about that. My Teams is going crazy. Let me just close this out. So the way that our program is structured, it's open enrollment, and we basically have a pre-screening survey in our LMS that acts as kind of a barrier to entry. So it really highlights, there's like 4 or 5 questions, and it really just kind of emphasizes whether or not the programming is appropriate for you based on your role in the organization. And then once you complete that survey, you'll take a required e-learning pre-work module just to kind of prep you for the live class, come together for a live, virtual, or in-person course. And then, as you'll see kind of bolded in blue here, the virtual post-class peer learning circle opportunity comes after taking a live course. So we have them kind of after our level 1 and level 2 learning opportunities. And it's they're all virtual just to kind of help with the spread of our organization. We're pretty large, 87,000 plus across many different regions. So it's really helpful to have that virtual setting. And they're 1 hour and very informal, different dynamic for participants outside of kind of the traditional classroom environment. So that's kind of where they stand in our program structure. So then the next piece here is actually the instruction. So there's 1 slide for all of our topics, every peer learning circle that's offered. And basically the way we operate, it's a max of 20 participants. So our classes range anywhere from like 35 to 40 people. And our peer learning circles have a max of 20. I don't think we've ever actually hit that number since we've piloted these. I think the most we've had in a peer learning circle has been 11 or 12. But what we do is, depending on the group size, we will send them out into breakout rooms with this slide, have them basically just talk to each other and discuss, really, reflect on what they've learned, what they've applied, challenges that they might be facing, and then kind of help each other through some of those challenges. And then they come back to the larger group after about 20 minutes and spend the rest of the hour just kind of talking through some of the main things that they talked about in their breakout session. So it's very laid back, very casual, but it allows people to just kind of talk freely and, share experiences and ideas. So that's kind of the prompt that we utilize for all of our peer learning circles, no matter what the topic is. So just to kind of give you an idea of the metrics for last year. So you'll see that we had a total number of sessions altogether, 68. So that's classes and peer learning circles combined. And then out of that total, 14 were the peer learning circles. You'll see our attendance was definitely lower, but again, it was pilot year and we are just continuing to socialize these in the organization. So, just to kind of give you an idea relative to our class size and numbers, where we were in our pilot rollout of this. And then kind of in our post-session evaluations, we averaged a 98% of likelihood to recommend. People really enjoyed the sessions. 96%, excuse me, of respondents felt that their learning needs were met. Those additional needs or concerns were met in the peer learning circles. And then 96% of respondents also felt like the experience helped them be more effective at work. And then this is my favorite slide because this was just some of the comments that we pulled from those post-session evals. And you can see, just a very, very different dynamic than our course environment. So, intimate, the opportunity to kind of help each other work through situations, bouncing ideas off each other, and really just taking the next step after participating in a course. So I know I talked really fast, but I also want to, give opportunity for people to ask questions, and then of course to have Lee be able to present as well. So I will stop and just see if there are any thoughts. Anybody want me to go back to anything? Any questions? Jessica?
Thank you so much for sharing. This is fantastic. And I might have missed it, but do you hold the peer learning circles immediately after a course, or is it a little bit further out from right after the session happening?
So you didn't miss it. I didn't say it. It's usually, so we host about 4 or 5 live courses throughout the year. So we try to we have about 2 peer learning circles per topic. So what we'll do is we'll spread them out throughout the year so that about 2 or 3 classes prior to the peer learning circle can be captured, if that makes sense. So that way, we have enough of a pool to kind of invite and pull from to attend the peer learning circle that follows those 2 or 3 sessions. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I do have a question. Sorry.
Yeah,
I would love
no.
to go back to the slide where you were showing kind of the experience, like the full experience in its totality.
Yeah.
That right there. Yes. So, when you say pre-screening survey to identify applicability, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And part B of my question, I'm trying not to go through each one of these, but I'm very curious. Like double click. So is it possible to like double click a little bit in kind of each of these? Like my next question is e-learning prereq module. Like where do you get that e-learning? Did you create that e-learning? So those are my questions.
Yeah, so I could respond to both those. So the pre-screening survey is created and it's attached in Articulate to our e-learning. So our e-learning is created in-house. And it's made by our instructional designer on our team who has also worked very closely with the frontline leader team even prior to me coming on. So those pre-work modules have been kind of in creation and then updated constantly since the inception of the program in 2017. They weren't always required. And then when we kind of shifted the model of the program, we decided it would make more sense to have that kind of requirement attendance in a live session just to kind of increase the investment that people are taking when they're attending a session. And it also has decreased our number of no-shows because obviously people are doing more work up front. They don't want to miss out on the session. So does that answer both of those questions for you?
It absolutely does. And my last question is,
Yeah.
will you be sharing these slides? Are you
Yes.
able to? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Melissa, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Not a problem at all. I have a quick question, and it is, how does Northwell define frontline leader? What does that mean?
So basically anyone who has direct reports is, the first level of leadership. So
the first level over a team member or
correct.
individual contributor. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So please feel free, I'll put my contact information in the chat as well, but please feel free to reach out to me offline. Happy to discuss this further. And I will be sending the slides out so that if you do have any other questions, we can definitely continue the conversation. So thank you, everybody. And Leah, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Let me stop sharing now. Okay.
And should I go ahead and start sharing?
Yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Awesome. All right. Wow, thank you, Samantha. That was really exciting, and it like got my wheels turning, got my juices flowing. And Elisha, who was asking those very thoughtful questions, she's my director, and I had a lot of those same questions. So Samantha, I may reach out to you to connect after this, since we are like, yeah, all in on group mentoring. It's awesome. Thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm super excited to share with you today our story with group mentoring and really the work that I've done at Children's so far that has been the most meaningful to me. So my name is Lee Paquette, and I serve on the talent management team. And my focus is on leadership development. And so many of my wonderful colleagues are on this call who also went through this experience too. So I love to see those beautiful faces. I've been with Children's for about 1.5 years. And as I mentioned, the group mentoring work really is near and dear to my heart, but even more than that, it's the work that I'm definitely most proud of since I've been here at Children's and I've seen such a wonderful impact. We also, it sounds like Samantha, you started with a pilot. We also started with a pilot and we are working to scale that now. So it's been really exciting to see this very small idea come bigger and bigger and getting ready to launch a scaled version next month. And I'll share more details about both of those programs in a bit. But to give you kind of an understanding of where we started, at Children's, we often start problem solving by asking a question of how might we? And this is a phrase that our president and CEO, Steve Davis, he used a handful of times and it really did catch on. I think he was not expecting how much it did catch on. But we started this with a how might we attitude. Starting broadly, we thought about how might we enhance the employee experience for, of course, our employees, but also specifically looking at our leaders. The graphic on this slide here, it is the main image from our employee experience strategic plan, and it's really like the North Star of our priorities for our team. So in the middle there, you can see our 3 strategic priorities, and these were identified by our employees as key parts of their employee experience. So our big focus has been well-being, leadership development, and career development. In that pink ring around, employees also identified camaraderie, meaningful work, and relationship with their manager as other key parts of their experience. And that's really getting to connection. So it became clear to us that we needed to provide a leadership development skill building opportunity to touch on so many of these things while also enhancing connection. And as I mentioned, my director, Elisha's on the call. She had actually worked with group mentoring previously and suggested this as a pilot program. If you've not taken on group mentoring, I would so recommend starting with a pilot because it made it an achievable way for us to elevate our leadership development offerings. So the way we did that was a program called Leader Mentor Circles. And this is our group mentoring program where leaders with common learning interests meet once per month for a 6-month engagement. So each circle meeting is centered around a predetermined topic, and participants have the opportunity really just to connect, to share their stories, their challenges, and their successes in that confidential environment. And really my ultimate goal was to create that space of learning and connection for our leaders in this experience. So in our pilot program, we started small. We had about 45 people. As I mentioned, we are getting ready to scale that to all people leaders at the hospital. So we're hoping for a big change there. I'll be happy to come back and report on how that goes at another time too. But yeah, please think of us as we do that. But anyways, to give you some more details on kind of our structure, each circle has 8 to 10 participants. So 2 mentors, which in this program we call circle leads, and then 6 to 8 mentees called circle members. And each group is intentionally diversified by job function to really enhance that connection. So like we had employees from HR connecting with clinical managers and having the opportunity to meet someone new that you haven't connected with already. For criteria, we also followed a leader with 1 or more direct reports. So any leader with 1 or more direct reports can participate as a mentee, and we've targeted our new leader population as part of that. And mentors must have 1 or more direct reports for 1 or more years at Children's Hospital. For the time commitment, we estimate it's about 1.5 to 2 hours per month for mentees. And mentors typically spend about 2 to 4 hours per month. We'll see how that shifts too in this future scaled opportunity as well. But one of my favorite things about this whole program is the simplicity that we approached it with. So thinking about the time commitment, all of our leaders are busy. So we intentionally selected prep work on the topics that we chose that could be completed within 30 minutes. So one of our topics was navigating change, and we provided a 12-minute TED Talk on that one and one brief article. And that was all the prep work that anyone had to do before coming to a circle meeting. It created a good shared understanding of the topic, but we didn't get too deep on the resources. It's more about the story sharing. And the way our matching works, so the pilot program was all in person. Since we are scaling this opportunity and offering it much broader, participants will be matched in groups based on their preference of how they want to meet, whether they want to meet virtually or in person on site. And the monthly topic resources that we provide for support were shared in these beautiful brief guides created by my colleague on this call, Andrea. Thank you again for your wonderful work on that. But thinking about support, we are looking at how we can elevate the support we provide to our mentors in this program because of some other changes that I'll talk about in a minute. So we're working to offer a cohort of talent management coaches with topic-focused open coaching hours. So if the next upcoming topic is leading change and a mentor doesn't feel confidence or competence in that topic, or if they just need some skills and maybe to work through a conversation and think about their facilitation, we're going to have coaching opportunities for those things available. And since there are 2 mentors in each circle, we encourage them to collaborate with each other. Like, hey, if you need support, reach out to your co-lead for some additional support and make sure you're aligned as well. So I've referenced our topics a few times. This is a timeline that shows an overview of the 6-month program. At the bottom, you can see the topics that we selected. And we've been also working behind the scenes to create institutional leadership competencies. And these topics were selected with the blueprint of our competencies in mind. So we're getting further in that competency work. And I don't think that these topics will change significantly as we do, but there may be some adjustments there. And then the things at the top are times when all of the circles came together. And again, for the pilot, it was in person. We came together at 3 points throughout the 6-month journey to just expand connection and to have a different kind of experience. So here's a couple pictures of 2 of those in-person meetings. So the one on the left is from the All Circles kickoff. Oh, I'm like getting the chills looking at these pictures because these events really were so fun and there was so much energy in the room. And we all really, we've missed that over the past handful of years. So it was nice to get back in a room with a big group like that. But anyways, at the All Circle kickoff, that's when our circle members met each other. They started building that relationship and that connection. And we also had them bring their calendars and schedule all of the meetings for the 6-month engagement in that room so that we would hopefully reduce that scheduling barrier that we all deal with all the time. The second picture here is from our midpoint meetup session. So you can kind of see at the very front of the room, we had a panel of 4 leaders from across the hospital come and talk about career development. And that was really special. And we got a lot of great feedback from our mentees that they appreciated the commitment of different leaders coming to share their time. So we had someone from our executive team, a senior VP. We also had an AVP from supply chain, a director of finance, and then a clinical manager. And we chose people, again, with like diverse job functions so that hopefully our mentees could connect with and see themselves in each of our leaders on the panel. So to sum it up, thinking about what we learned in the pilot program and where we're going now with the bigger institutional program, I have a comparison here, but I'll point out just a few of the highlights from this slide. So again, that first major one is the audience size. We're going from a group of 45 to scaling to an unknown size. We're hoping for 200 participants in the next iteration of the program. But again, those signups are going to be rolling in a few weeks, and I absolutely can't wait. So to enable this larger program, we have to rely more on the functionality of the mentoring platform than we did last time. So we've purchased a platform called Cronus, and that will help us to manage matching of putting those circles together. And also it'll help automate communication at certain points in the journey so we can be a little more hands-off than we were for the pilot program. Another key change, in the pilot program, members of our talent management team served in each circle group as a facilitator. And so I had the pleasure of serving as a facilitator. It was a wonderful development and just a connection experience for me. As I mentioned, I've been here about 1.5 years. So last year when we launched this program, I was really ready for that connection and ready to learn more about other areas of the hospital. And it was a great way for me to do that and to connect with so many of our leaders. In the institutional program, since we are going to have a much bigger audience, we will no longer have that facilitator role. So mentors will be responsible for managing conversation facilitation and also scheduling the meetings. So again, with that additional support we're providing through the coaching opportunities, we hope that that will help support our mentors as they are going through this journey. And then lastly, I'll mention when we originally launched this program, it was the only mentoring program from the talent management team. And this time around, we are partnering with some of our colleagues to also launch a new one-on-one mentoring program. So our ultimate goal and our aspiration is to have mentorship available to all employees in a way that meets their needs. So I think we'll have a lot more future iterations, especially of the Circles program, as more and more people are coming out and saying, hey, I'm with the Young Professionals ERG. We would love to have our own circle. Or, hey, I'm in research. We would love to have our own Circles program. And I think that's where we plan to go long-term in the next few years. But ultimately, my biggest learning from this whole experience through our survey data and the conversations we've had, our leaders do want to connect. There is such a need for connection and also give back. There were so many people who did serve as mentors, but people who considered the opportunity, just saying, I really want to use this as my own leadership development. Serving as a mentor is something meaningful to me. And lots of our leaders wanted to help newer leaders avoid some of the mistakes that they made the first time. I heard lots of stories about, oh, hey, here's a mistake I made 10 years ago. And if I had a mentor, it would have made the world of difference. Or if I had a circle like this, I could have connected with other people to talk through the scenario. So we want to create that experience. And that is everything I have today for you. I think these slides will be available in the member portal. But yeah, super happy to connect. If you do have any questions, would love to hear those.
Thank you so much, Lee. Any questions for the Cincinnati team? Jessica.
Hi, thanks again. This was tremendous to hear. These are making me so excited about possibilities. So thank you for sharing. My question was going to be, if you could maybe just one more time tell me the makeup of the groups again in the pilot. I was trying to track like facilitators that will transition, but who's really guiding conversation? What's the split of mentee to mentor? If you don't mind, recap that one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the pilot program, we had this 45 total participants and it was 5 circles. So the pilot had 1 facilitator, 2 mentors, and then about 6 to 8, it kind of varied a little, but 6 to 8 mentees. And I think with that size, we really hit the mark where everyone was able to share and to learn. And also, you know, we were in a room together, so we were able to really connect. And I'm glad we capped it at that size for this opportunity. Did you have another part of your question? You said the size. Oh, that's right. The size with the pilot and then where we're going with that facilitator role. So
that's right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many pros to having one of us in each circle. So in addition to facilitating the conversation and managing all those details that came up about, oh, hey, like my kid's sick, I'm not able to come into the meeting. Can we do this hybrid, virtual and in person? Just all those questions that came up along the way. And the reassurance for us that, oh, hey, this is a good experience and our mentors are equipped to do this. It was really beneficial and we had a lot of great learning from that. But again, since we are scaling, we just don't have the resources to be in each circle. So that coaching opportunity I described, where we're going to have at least monthly coaching opportunities. Those will be focused on our topics, but also I think we'll have to have other ones about, hey, there's a coach available if you need some support in your facilitation skills, or if you just really need some support scheduling or finding a room or figuring out teams, whatever the issue is, we want to be able to serve as coaches from our facilitation experience and really set our mentors up for success. But it is an increased responsibility on our mentors this go around in the scaled version.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
I had a quick question. Would you mind letting us know again, what is the platform you chose to use to auto select groups and things like that?
Yep. The platform is called Cronus.
Can
And
you spell that?
yeah, it's CHRONUS. Not to be confused with Chronos, the
That's what I
timekeeping
thought you were
platform.
saying. I was like,
Yeah,
how
I bet that happens a lot. I'm like, really? You couldn't have picked like any other word that can be slightly different than one of the key players. But anyways, yes.
Okay.
And it really is a good platform. It's the only mentoring platform I've worked with. In my previous organization, the mentoring I managed was on a much smaller scale and we didn't have a platform like that. But it's nice because especially in our one-on-one program, it'll manage the matching based on certain criteria. But for circles, it will match circles in this next iteration, as I mentioned, based on whether they want to meet in person or virtually and what's better for them. And then it will also diversify them based on any factors that we want to include. And we're really focusing on job functions so people can meet new people. There still is an admin review step. So after it does that matching, I can get in there and make any adjustments as needed. But I'm glad that we'll have that platform to do the first draft of our circles. Any other thoughts or questions? Yeah, Samantha.
So I was just curious, is this in like a standalone program? Is it in combination with like any other development program or opportunity? Does it come after something, before something? I guess just understanding placement.
Yeah, you are so saying what we're thinking. So for this pilot, we had the idea and we kind of just did it and it was fabulous. We are really maturing in our leadership development offerings right now. So for this next iteration, it is going to continue to be kind of a standalone mentorship opportunity, but we are looking at how can we more directly connect this to like our new leader orientation population, or how can we more directly connect this to other leadership development opportunities we'll have around like leadership essentials and some other program we're working on. So I love what you're thinking, and I'm even more excited to connect with you another time, Samantha.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, but now it is just a standalone program.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Team, was there anything important that I didn't mention? Children's team? Okay.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Samantha. It was great to hear both of these topics and presentations. I appreciate your time. I think in the next, we have 20 minutes left in the call. So I am curious if anyone wants to add their own experience regarding these topics or what your organization is doing, or if there are broad questions for the group about any of the things you've heard.
I'm curious because I recently got trained in restorative justice and they have this concept of community circles. And I was curious if your idea of circles is related to that or just happens to be a coincidence.
I think it just happens to be a coincidence. Is that any
Yeah,
input, Alicia or team? Just a coincidence? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very interesting because I had been thinking about a group coaching program, and then I got the restorative justice training, and I'm thinking more along the lines of circles. How do your circles, is it more just like a discussion circle, or how does it work? Yeah. Does it
Yeah,
have a coaching feel to it, or is it mostly just discussion?
it is mostly just discussion, I would say. I can see a coaching feel and coaching being more incorporated in future iterations.
Yeah.
But it really is just an opportunity for discussion, and the structure that we do have, kind of helps with that discussion component. So it is like, hey, we're here today to talk about this. So bring your stories related to leading through change and things like that. But yeah, I was immediately Googling restorative justice over here on my other screen, and I'm curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, the community circles are for community building, and I think it's kind of a similar concept. Does everybody in your circle get a chance to talk, or okay, very cool.
Yes. So everyone
Sounds
has
like
a
great
chance
work.
to talk. And in my particular circle, like there was no pressure. No one, we never called on anyone. But everyone did naturally speak up, even those who are typically maybe more introverted. So we created a lot of trust in that space.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'll just add to that, just because the nature of our peer learning circles is slightly different because it's not a complete program. It's like an addition to our learning opportunities. So similarly, with participation, I would say the people who are signing up for these are people who want to take that next step and engage in this more intimate learning experience. So we have seen, it be a very like fruitful experience, whereas sometimes in our classes, you might have some people that are quieter or less likely to speak up in the peer learning circles because they're much smaller, and because they are, sought after a training session. I've been lucky enough to have a pretty productive experience for everybody. So.
I did have a quick question in terms of psychological safety and confidentiality. Are there like ground rules that are established initially with your circles, or how is that discussed at any level?
So I can start. So interestingly enough, we don't really have any level setting in the peer learning circles. In the classes, we do have like a level setting ground rule slide that, emphasizes this is a safe space and, we're here to support each other. But from what I've experienced from the ones that I have, been sitting in on, and from kind of the feedback we've been getting from faculty and from participants via the survey, despite not having kind of that, very clear ground rule set at the beginning, people are still relatively comfortable being open. And I was talking about this earlier today. I think especially at the frontline level, people are really seeking support. And we joke that sometimes even our courses almost become mini therapy sessions because, you can't really talk about it with your team, so to speak. And of course, we want to empower you to speak about it with your leader, but we notice that there's a lot of that camaraderie building and, luckily psych safety that has been established kind of organically because of the nature of the content and people being, wanting that outlet. So it might be something to think about though, to kind of put that out there in our notes for our facilitators who are leading these, because I think it is helpful to kind of just carry over that expectation from the class more formally. So that was a good call out, actually, a good thing to think about.
And that's something we took a similar approach. And the trust really did come organically. I think we only had one hiccup, and it wasn't even an issue or anything that needed to be addressed in any different way. But we talked about in the beginning whether or not to have people sign a confidentiality agreement, and we kind of had that idea, and then I think other things just became priority. But also, we want to approach this in all of our work from a place where we trust our leaders. We trust our leaders to do the right thing. We did talk about confidentiality in our mentor orientation and then that All Circles kickoff meeting. And I think people understood that, but yeah, it really just came naturally and organically.
I see Andrea, so I just have a quick follow-up in terms of I'm sorry if I missed this, but is there an evaluation of people's experiences? I'm just wondering if that assumed kind of comfort is shared across all participants or if there is any difference based off of populations.
That's a great question. And we didn't target any of that in our surveys. But I don't remember any comments related to that too, and then in the feedback.
Yeah, so we have a generalized faculty annual survey that went out, and there was nothing that stuck out in terms of any of our facilitators' experience. And then I just last week was sifting through the data for this presentation, and there was nothing, in the qualitative data from our participants that, expressed any issues with trust or psych safety. So yeah, I think to Leah's point, it is a very organic experience where people just build that comfort, luckily, right? And it doesn't hurt to set the standard more formally, but I think it's exciting to see it happen naturally like that as well. So
thank you. Helpful. Andrea?
Yes, thank you. And I'll come off mute. My allergies are going crazy, so I'll come off video because I'm sneezing. But I'll say, just to add on to what Lee shared, I think one of the goals of the Mentoring Circles program, though, was to create a safe space. Like that was embedded into our program goals. That was one of our intentions and one of the outcomes that we were wanting to achieve, is ensuring that it was a safe space. And we did. I know Lee said we discussed it in orientation, but we did create circle fundamentals that everyone was aware of, that we spoke very significantly to. And I know as a facilitator, it was something that I worked diligently to do, right, was to create that safe space. But we did talk about, right, one of the circle fundamentals were: must prepare your minds and hearts by reviewing the resources, completing the pre-work and attending the meetings, maintaining confidentiality of personal stories, like listening deeply with genuine curiosity, right? Sharing openly, speaking up, using everyday challenges as our practice ground, and engaging in feedback and feed forward. And that was an agenda item that we had. We had a meeting agenda. It was the same agenda for every single meeting, just different topics. And that agenda was created also, I think, in a way to help create that psychological safety, right? Like, for example, and I pinged Lee, I'm like, should we just share the agenda with them? And we can do that afterward in some slides. But the agenda was even created, the template was created with intention around that. Like, there were 3 main sections of the agenda, one of them being connecting, the second being learning together, and then the third being reconnecting. So we incorporated check-ins at the beginning of every meeting. We incorporated check-outs to give everyone a space, right? An easy space to share their voices, to share their experiences. And then we did include feedback and feed forward. We could use the fact that it was a pilot program and say, remember, you committed to providing feedback and feed forward so we can learn. So that helped really get everyone involved and really just, I feel like the space was really good, because in our surveys and our discussions, we got really, really good, honest feedback and feed forward for learning from our folks. So while I think it was organic, I do think that there was a lot of intention behind it in the materials and the format that we created. So I just wanted to add that. I hope you don't mind, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that, Andrea. It feels like, years ago that we had those conversations and had that all circle kickoff and planned for that. So yes, thank you for adding that. Very helpful.
Any other questions from the group for either our presenters or the group generally on these topics? Or if we want to pivot away, is there any thing that's keeping you up at night that you want some feedback on from the group? Okay. It's a long enough pause, right? To make everyone feel a little uncomfortable, but not pressured. If there isn't any other topics that are top of mind for you, I'm happy to conclude the call a little bit early. Not sure it's enough time for you to do anything significant, but maybe take a few deep breaths before you move into your next call or meeting. But I hope everyone has a wonderful March. We'll see you in April, and thank you for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.